welcome to another Tabitha's Glass Emporium YouTube video. Today we're looking at a fantastic little float jewellery project using some lovely inclusions to make a couple of little float necklaces. And I can't wait to show you how I made these. So I wanted to have a look about making some float jewellery. You know, I had some lanterns and I took a load of paint out because I wanted to use some of my 96 to make some lanterns, and now I'm left with these and I was thinking, oh, what can I do with them? I was thinking, oh, I could try and make some jewellery with them. So today I'm coming up with an idea. So I've decided to do two pieces of jewellery. They're going to be tack fused, and I cut the panes in not in half, but in kind of two different sizes, and I'm going to make one piece that's a bit bigger and one piece is a bit smaller. Now, float is always like, oh, what can I add to float to make it interesting? Now, there's lots of different things you can. So there are these, which are glass line papers. So they're bullseye thin fire, painted with glass line and really pretty patterns, which you can use in any glass. And you can use these hole punches. You can get in most crafting stores in lots of different shapes and sizes, and you can cut those into glass line and then add them in the projects. Now, when I'm designing a project like this, I tend to cut my pieces in just normal paper first and sort of think about it and think how I'm going to use them before I use the more expensive material. So you've got that. You've also got silver foil you could use. This is a piece of silver foil. You've got copper foil that also can be used. All of mine's a bit dusty, I haven't used it in a while, but that can also be used. Now, the thing about the silver and the copper foil is the copper foil is quite easy to hole punch as long as it's not a mess like this. The silver foil is harder. I would put it, if you want to hole punch it, put it between two pieces of paper. Sometimes it comes with some paper on it, and as long as you hole punch it through that paper, but I seem to have lost the paper, so for me, I'll put it between two pieces of paper before I try and hole punch it if I wanted to hole punch the silver. So I'm going to do one piece with dragonflies in copper and one piece with dragonfly in silver. So, you know, this is an experiment for me. I'm not used to using float, and I'm going to give it a go. So I have got some float powders. This is called Optula float. In Europe, I know you can get this at TGK. I'm sure you can get it many places. Google them. They're a great company in Germany making products that you can use with float. Now guys, I just want to say something about this, is that recently we made these little lanterns, and I just was like, why wouldn't I make lanterns with float products? Then I've got zero waste, I'm using the glass that's in there, we've got some great Marini, you've got some great other products out there you can use. It's bringing your costs down because you're not having to use the base glass. And it's, you know, better for the environment, because otherwise, unless you are someone who can use that float, it's quite, you know, what are you going to do with that product apart from put it in landfill? So I'm kind of feeling, for summer, we found a load of little lanterns, and I'm kind of thinking I am just going to make those lanterns in float because it's better for the environment. So that's my take on it. So I'm hoping this will be the last little bit of float from lanterns I'll have. But you can get this great glass, guys. Please remember, if you're using powders, put a mask on. I'm going to keep mine very low, and I'm just going to put a dusting of green all over the bottom layer. Now, on top of that, I'm going to lay some of these ferns. I'm hoping that they will show with the green, and it will be kind of one colour and another colour. But you know, as I said, it's an experiment, and we'll see what looks good. So I'm putting that on. I'm then going to put a piece of glass on top, and what I'm hoping is to get a bit of depth here. Now I've got my copper dragonflies. I will use a little bit of glue now just to help hold them in place. Just dip and touch. And I'm putting two little dragonflies like that. Now, with conclusions, you don't want to go too close to the edge. So you want your glass to be able to wrap around the inclusions and seal them into the glass. So, I mean, that's about as close as I'm willing to go to the edge on a project. So on top of that, I'm just going to use a little bit of glue on the back of here, just to hold this in place to there. And then on my top layer, I'm just going to add some Merini. Now, I'm going to tack fuse this because I want a tack fuse fill. So these are our float daisies. Not going to put many on. Guys, we do only say our float goods are good for a tack fuse. I've used them in a full fuse, but there is a bit of separation in the glass, which does show a bit of compatibility issues. But you know, it's all good for a tack fuse, and there's lots of projects you can do with a tack fuse. And I'd lose the shape of the leaves if I put it on a full fuse. I've also got these little knobbly bits which were from a green stringer that was a little bit thicker, and I just cut some strips off that, and that's sort of giving me an extra bit of texture, and you know how I like my texture. So that's ready to go in the kiln just as it is on a tack fuse. We will show you our float firing schedule. Please remember to check your schedules, and if your kiln or you have a better suggestion, please use that. We are not float experts, so anyone who wants to give us some feedback on a better float schedule, we'll love it. And here's how I'll do the second one. So for this one, I'm going to again lay some powder down. I'm going to put my ferns on. They're a slightly different colour this time. I want to make sure I keep them a little bit away from the edge so that they don't, the glass can seal. Now I'm going to cut my dragonfly. So as you can see, I've cut the silver one. I've put some paper around the silver. Then I'm putting it through, and it's dropped on the floor. But there it is. They are very delicate, so I'm going to get it on the glass as quick as I can. And here's my dragonfly on the glass. Now I'm probably going to try and move it up a little bit. No, it's totally stuck down now because I used a bit of glue. So I'm not going to try and move it at all. It's now going to be in the place it's going to be. On it goes. Again, I'm going to use a bit of glue on the back of this piece. So it sticks onto the back of there and holds the dragonfly well in place. And then I am going to put a little bit of Merini at the bottom here. I might use a few more on this one. I've got these green bits again, like these. Now, the reason it's moving around so much is the bottom layer, of course, isn't glued. So you might be better off creating the top two layers first, or even sticking it down. But I quite like being able to see where my bottom layer is to create the top layers. But it does mean it's a little bit more tricky. And there we go. So that will gently go in the kiln on a tack fuse as well. So here are these out of the kiln. I love the fact that silver turns to gold on float. That's kind of really interesting. The copper's really oxidised and actually it's sort of bubbled. so it means it's sort of hard to see, and I don't think it worked quite so well. I mean, I think the background piece is shown better than they do on this, but I maybe prefer the subtler look. I think this could be really nice as a sun kind of catcher. I don't know whether you can kind of see that at all, that it looks nice there, but for me, the silver really works brilliantly. Or you could also, if you don't want to have silver, don't want to pay for silver, you could use more of the papers to do the dragonfly. That's the other way to do them. But I think that works really well. I'm actually going to cold work the edges and glue a bail on both of them, and we'll sort of see how they look when they're done. So here are these finished, and we've glued the bails on and put a little chain and put a leather thong on this one. You could put a ring on here. I thought I had some gold plated rings, but I still can't seem to find them. I think these are great little pieces of jewellery, and I really like how they've kind of turned out. We've started a new Facebook group. It's called Tabitha's Glass Emporium, and you can join the group as long as you're purchasing Merini or plan to purchase Merini from us. It's a place to share your projects you're making, share where you get your inspiration from, and help us all get new ideas of great glass projects to make with these products. So please join it, and hopefully we can share and inspire each other together. I hope you've enjoyed this YouTube video. Please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'll see you again soon.